I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Dr. Mathias Döpfner to you, and I'm delighted because our vision is a creative CEO in every creative business, and we have a creative CEO, one of the rare species in communication industries. Dr. Döpfner studied musicology, Germanistic, and theater arts. Now, that was when you really planned your future, and now you ended as chairman and CEO of Europe's biggest, largest publishing company, Axel Springer. So please, that is a distance. How do you feel about it?
I was interested from the very beginning in business, in deals, in negotiating, in numbers. That was something that was fascinating to me, and at the same time I was absolutely driven by language, by journalism, by writing. And so it was hard to decide. I started as a freelancer, as a writer. I then became a manager of a little agency, a music agency. Then I went back to journalism as a correspondent, then I became assistant, then I became editor-in-chief, then back to management. So it really went back and forth several times, which I think was wonderful for me. And fortunately today, a career doesn't need to be this kind of linear development. We have learned a little bit from the American culture where you can, I don't know, start as a professor for mathematics, and then you end up as an entrepreneur running a fast food chain.
In these challenging times, these interesting times, you have taken Axel Springer to new heights. Would you say that your journalistic background, your creative background has helped you to do that?
The idea that a media company could be run by a lawyer or by a MBA business experienced person, but that it should not be run by a journalist is a somehow absurd idea. You know, as a journalist, you know exactly how this fundament of the media business, the content works, and you know exactly where the right taboos are and where the wrong taboos are. There are certain things that you need to protect, and there are certain costs and investments that you need to make in order to provide great journalism. On the other hand, there are a lot of wrong taboos where people are saying we always did it like that and should be always done like that. If you come from journalism, you have a lot more credibility to change things and to break taboos, to break the right taboos. And another thing that should be added, if you look at Axel Springer, it's a company that has been founded by a journalist. Axel Springer was a journalist, so it was always in the DNA of the company that journalism, content first, and then with that let's try to make the best possible business, and not the other way around.
Yeah. Well, if you take one brand out of your portfolio, Bild, I mean, it is pretty amazing to learn that Bild Zeitung in these times really has been very stable, but you've added via digital engagement, I mean, another 5 million people on top of the 12 million you had. So you enlarged the brand. This is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole history of Bild is amazing. If you recognize that Bild has been founded in the early 50s as a reaction on the development of TV. It was a kind of answer from print media how to deal with this new media category. And then it developed into a very successful mass market daily newspaper. Then the next development step was a group, a family of Bild brands with market leading woman magazine, car magazine, sport magazine, computer magazine, games magazines. And then the next development phase was the digitization, when Bild then really turned into a market leading infotainment portal. And then from that it even developed the more recent distribution channels, the mobile app and the tablet app. Bild is today not a newspaper or a magazine, it's a real multimedia brand.
TV is missing.
Well, TV, it's not missing, because if you look to build.de, the percentage of video content is pretty significant. So I think step by step, Build is developing in the digital world in a sort of TV channel or even TV channel family. The convergence of the different content categories, that's a key factor of success in the digital world. And we had that conviction years ago, 6-7 years ago, and that's why we wanted to buy ProSiebenSat.1. We were not allowed by the cartel office, and for that reason we decided to develop step-by-step pieces of video content in an organic way, to do it ourselves.
It's also entertainment. Yeah? I mean, I see somewhat a parallel, maybe tell me if that is right, from Apple to your company. Apple moved from igniting the personal computer revolution to igniting the digital entertainment revolution. That is where we are today. And in a way, you are jumping with content exactly on that.
A content company of the future needs to develop a much closer relationship to technology. Technology and content have been separated in the old analog world. In the digital world, this is not possible anymore. And only if you have the best technology, if you have the best software people and IT experts, you will be able to create, to design, to shape the content product, which does not necessarily mean that each journalist, each writer needs to be a good software expert or
they need to collaborate.
But they need to collaborate. In the multimedia world, there's absolutely no room for silos. And that is true in many respects. Everybody who tries to produce content products, branded content in silos is going to fail, I think, because not only because you cannot afford a silo between technology and journalism, you also cannot afford a silo between print journalists and online journalists. You have to have the best journalists, you have to have the best experts in their fields, and they are providing their stories, their content for all distribution channels. If you do that, then you benefit from each other. Then you provide the real fascinating, interactive, multimedia product chain. If you don't do this, you create winners and losers in an organization, those who are responsible to somehow manage print business and try to defend it against new developments, against the digital opportunities, and on the other hand you have the winners who are taking advantage of the growth figures of the online business, and that is very unhealthy. Unhealthy for the culture and the spirit in a corporation, and very unhealthy for the quality of the product.
You also ran down the silos between your brands, right?
Silos are always wrong, because also the brands should learn from each other, should have full transparency about their recipes of success and what they're doing better than others. Having said that, of course, a healthy competition between the brands is important.
What was your biggest challenge in implementing change?
Big challenge is, of course, at the beginning that majority of people simply doesn't want to change. That's normal. That's in our human nature. I think the most important thing here was really to tear down the silos and to simply say, with this integrated workflow, we make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate in this development, in this transformation into the digital world, and also participate in the success stories that derive from that. When you have that, and when people realize I really can be part of it, and it is much better for me, it's to my benefit, then this is a big motivator for the whole organization. But the biggest challenge is still ahead of us, and that is, will we really be able to convince consumers to pay for quality journalism and for branded content?
I think the fortunate thing is that you always signaled from the top that there is the opportunity in change, and that there is an advantage if you change fast.
Change is not a threat, and I think the whole digitization of our industry is not something that we should be worried about. It is really something that we should embrace. I mean, clearly And we see it reflected in our figures with record profits last year, and 25% of our total sales are online sales. It's a profitable business. It's the second biggest division of the company or segment of the company. If you're really embracing it, if you are shaping it in your interest, then I think you can prove the fact that new distribution channels bear the possibility to grow our business into a totally different dimension without changing the fundament of it, and that is again great content that people really want to read and see, and that they really need.
Yeah, I pay for it. I mean, that is a bit of the result, which is nice. Media Man of the Year in Germany. I think it's a recognition of what you're doing, and I think that is really also great for your company, because I imagine there are many supporters, many people behind.
Awards are a compliment, and it would be simply untrue to say that you don't enjoy that. Having said that, in the end it is something that doesn't matter, and even is a bit dangerous if it leads to a mentality that anybody could say, okay, we have done it, we have achieved it. And I think we are not in a situation to say that ever.
It's a nice indicator given to you by the jury that they feel you are in an exciting direction. Thank you so much, Matthias.